All right.
Give me
Looks
one.
like we're good.
Yeah, give me 1 second.
The
Leon.
live stream is setting itself up. Hold on.
Okay. Everybody gets multiple seconds right now. Take them as you need them. Just let me know when everything is good to go, Matt and Lisa.
Yeah, I'm just sending Leon the right link. She's having some issues. So she texted me.
All right. Stream says we are live streaming. Let me double check Facebook to make sure because it doesn't look like it on YouTube yet. But then again, they're always a few seconds behind us. Yep, we're live and we're recording.
Got to account for any shenanery that YouTube will have to edit out later here, but
it's live too.
Communist tube. Anyway, all right here, guys. Matt, if you can, and Lisa and the other members of the EC, if you can just keep an eye on the waiting room and just kind of pop in the chat if you see somebody in there. We're going to get these things started here. My name's Josh Halafka. It is 7:36 on August the 18th, 2024. I'm going to call to order this meeting of the LPF Executive Committee at this time here. And when you're ready, Ms. Gansky, you can go ahead with the roll call and introductions of guests.
Sure. Okay. Josh.
I am here.
Matt.
I'm here.
I'm here. It looks like Joe is not. I pinged him, but I'm not sure. He might be a little late, I guess. Ed?
Present.
Scott?
Here.
Lee?
Here.
Derek? Does someone want to ping Derek? Because he's a newly minted region rep. He might have forgotten. Joey?
Here.
Robert? Vincent? You on mute? I saw you here.
Yeah, I was trying to ping Derek as you asked, and I'm on the road, so.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
Sorry about that.
I'm here.
I see you. Leon, I see you just got here. You're on mute, Leon, but
here I am. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
DL. Does someone want to ping him? He's also new. Andrew?
Here.
Beth?
Here.
Real quick, Ms. Gansky, I just admitted, I believe, Mr. Sokol into the room.
Oh, great. Welcome, Joe. I see you on my Zoom.
Yep.
David Moscript.
Hey, yep, I'm here, Lisa.
Eric Montgomery.
Here.
Chris Allen.
Here.
James.
I am here.
I saw John Paff on.
Here.
There we go. Deanna. Oh, she's on mute.
Here.
Thank you. And I heard Hector. Where's Hector?
Present.
Okay, so it looks like we're missing Derek and DL. If anyone would message them, I would appreciate it because they're both new region reps.
I've pinged them both, sent them both messages.
Thank you. So we have 19 people here.
Who's my name?
And 2 absences for now.
Right?
I'm in a meeting.
So that sounds like a quorum there. Can we get
Sounds
mutes
exact.
on here?
Just want to check, do we have Jonathan McGee or Mark Gullub?
No, Libertarian Party of Florida.
So, like, you're feeling a little more important.
Bill's
me-
listening.
Yep, I went ahead and
I'm just listening in.
the mute. Hey
Okay.
guys, just real quick, if you're not part of the EC, please get yourselves on mute here. Thank you.
Lisa, DL just joined.
Great, thank you. DL, you want to say hi to everybody?
Hi.
Thank you.
All right. Mr. Cummings mic works. So that brings us up to 20 on the call here on the EC, which definitely gives us quorum there. All right there. So we can have an official meeting here. We have quorum. Thank you, Ms. Gansky here. Moving ahead here, we have item 4 on the agenda, which is public comment here. So we'll give approximately 10 minutes for public comment from any LPF general member. So these are not for the EC or the committee chairs, because we're going to hear them later on with their reports. This is strictly for general membership here. I do see the national chair, Ms. McArdle's hand is up. If there's no objection, I would entertain Ms. McArdle here for a minute or two. All right. Ms. McArdle, the floor is yours, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Angela McArdle, National Libertarian Party Chair. I want to share just a couple of comments on the Joint Fundraising Committee with Team Kennedy. I know that a controversy has arisen in your state regarding your state participating. I want to respectfully ask that if you're going to reverse on your involvement with the JFC, please take the tone that you're rescinding it, not voiding it, which could create compliance purposes for Team Kennedy and also for the LNC. I also want to share that we, the LNC, do not get additional funding for having you as a state affiliate sign up. You gain funding though, so please think about the financial benefit from it. The financial benefit you'd get if you'd stay in. I heard that you're upset about the way the agreement was entered into, and I certainly don't mean to discount that. And it sounds like you guys have some things to work out amongst yourselves, but I would respectfully ask for you to separate your concerns with that situation from the actual agreement, its financial benefits, and also the potential problems you could cause other parties who did not act in bad faith if you pull out of it in a messy way. And if anybody has questions about it in general detail, I will be around later. Even if I'm not on the call, feel free to reach out. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ms. McArdle. Is there any LPF general members who would wish to be heard at this time as well for public comment?
Kidding me.
It looks like Grover might want to speak, but that doesn't have his hand raised. Grover, do you want to speak? Or did you unmute by accident?
I'm not hearing anything or seeing anything here from Grover, but I did see Miss Keen's hands up here. It looks like I have lost control of my laptop. So Miss Keen, when you're ready, you may go ahead here. I don't have the ability to unmute you, unfortunately.
Yeah, getting to that mute button is really difficult sometimes. Yeah, I just wanted to speak to a little bit of the agreement. I'm not really sure what the agreement says exactly. It's very confusing. I've heard so many different things about how it will benefit Florida, where the money can be spent, yada, yada, yada. So clarification, and also to make known that, yeah, I didn't appreciate how the agreement was entered into either. I'm full transparency, and if we're not doing things out in the open, then it seems suspicious. And I don't think that that's how we actually want to portray ourselves. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Keen. Right there, I saw Mr. Bentley's hand go up and then go back down there.
Hey, sorry about that. I did not have anything to say. My thing unmuted. I apologize about that.
No problem there, Mr. Bentley, not a problem. All right, here, is there any additional comment from anybody in the gallery or from our general membership? Going once on public comment, going twice on the public comment, last chance on the public comment, and all right, we are going to close out public comment. Thank you to the 3 speakers who hopped on and gave their opinions and let themselves be known here. So now we will move on to everybody's favorite item on the agenda. Well, second favorite item on the agenda. I know what everybody's favorite is, but next item is item 5, approval of the agenda. So at this time, the chair will now entertain a motion to approve the agenda. Not all at once, guys.
I'll motion.
All right. So moved by Mr. Ferguson. Is there a second to approving the
I
agenda?
second.
All right. Mr. Montgomery seconds. Is there any discussion on
Mr.
the
Chair.
approved? Mr. Johnson, go ahead.
Motion to amend the agenda to strike region reports that have already been submitted, committee reports that have already been submitted. So that would leave region 1, 3, 4, and 10. And also strike committee reports that have already been submitted, except for affiliate support, which has not been submitted. Fundraising, I would still like to have that report, treasurer, that report, and legislative action.
Okay, so real quick here, Mr. Johnson, because I know this is the shorter list here, just to make sure we're going to strike all regional reports except 1, 3, 4, and 10. And then I had affiliate support committee we were keeping. What else are we keeping from committee reports?
For the sake of posterity, I put it in the chat, but we're keeping affiliate support, fundraising, treasurer, and legislative action. Nope, treasurer is actually an EC report, but not a committee report. Sorry.
Outstanding. All right, that saves me a whole lot of writing on my whiteboard over here. All right, guys, so there has been a motion to amend the agenda to strike all reports for regional and committees and officers except for the following. It would be what would be remaining after everything was struck would be region 1, 3, 4, 10 in the treasurer's report. And then on the committee side of things, we'd be still hearing from affiliate support, fundraising, and legislative action there. Does anybody
Yeah, I have one question. I was told that membership completed their report. I haven't seen it. Was it actually completed within the last 10 minutes or?
I do not see it in bulletin board, and I have not seen it in my email.
Then we should include that in the list as well.
All right, so it has not been seconded yet. So Mr. Johnson, for technically speaking, it is still in order for you to add membership in there. Would you like to add membership?
Yes.
Okay. So
I don't see him on here, but yes, sure.
Okay. Perfectly fine. All right, Mr. Paff seconds here. So now it's locked in, and we will have to make an amendment to the amendment if need be. But we will be striking all EC reports except the treasurer, region 1, 3, 4, and 10, and all committee reports except for affiliate support, fundraising, legislative action, and membership. There was moved by Mr. Johnson, seconded by Mr. Paff. Is there any discussion on the amendment to the agenda? Going once on discussion, twice on discussion, last chance on discussion. All right. Is there any objection to amending the agenda as moved? Going once, going twice. Hearing no objection. Agenda amended. We're back on to the main motion, which is approving the amended agenda here. Is there any further amendments or discussion on the agenda as amended? All right, hearing no further discussion, is there any objection to approving the agenda as amended? Sometimes the sound of democracy is a beautiful thing. All right, we have an agenda, it sounds like. Approved. Moving on. Item 6, approval of the LPFEC meeting minutes for June 17th, or excuse me, July 17th, 2024. There was a typo in the agenda here. Whoops. So
sorry,
the July.
What's the typo?
Yeah, it is not the June 17th, 2024 meeting minutes we are approving here, guys. It would be the July 21st meeting minutes here. So a little typo in the agenda. I didn't catch it either, guys. So that's on me as well there. That being said, the chair will now entertain a motion to approve our July 21st, 2024 meeting minutes as presented.
I make a motion, we approve the July minutes.
All right, Mr. Sokol moves. Do we have a second on the approval of the meeting minutes for July?
I'll second.
All right, I'm going to take Mr. Johnson's second on that one because I heard him first. Is there any discussion to the meeting minutes at all here, guys? All right, hearing no discussion, is there any objection to approving these meeting minutes as presented? Hearing no objection, meeting minutes are approved. Ms. Gansky, you can finalize those in the archives there. Thank you again for your hard work on getting those minutes set up and ready to go in time for the meetings here. Next up on our agenda here is item 7, which is the LNC report here. I don't see Mr. McGee on the call here, but we do have our extremely resounding excellent alternate, Mr. Johnson, here for Region 2. So, Matt, can you give us a update on the LNC and what's going on, and give us a little update on what's going on for this meeting coming up next weekend as well, if you could?
So yeah, there's a meeting coming up this weekend, and if I miss anything, I do believe the LNC chair is still on this call, so she can correct me if I miss anything. I know there's a motion to adopt some much needed board training, so that, and I believe that looks like it has the votes to pass, so we will probably be doing that for a lot of the for quite some time there. There are some policy manual things happening. It was asked at the last LNC meeting, I believe, or not a regular meeting, but a special meeting, or on the list for each state party to get their region rep and get them a list of all candidates. National has been doing an excellent job shouting out our local down ballot candidates here in Florida. I've seen at least 2, maybe even 3 at least been put on Twitter and Facebook. So kudos to National for that. Angela, you got anything else that I am perhaps missing?
Hey, Matt, I think she dropped off, but I know you did miss one thing that she wanted to bring up.
Oh, Rob's on here too. Thank you, sir.
Yep. There will be a Chase Oliver fundraising event down in Miami. I encourage everyone who supports Chase to be there. I'm not sure if it's Friday night or Saturday night. I won't be there Friday night. Unfortunately, I have a conflict, but Saturday night I'll be there. So let's try to rally the troops to get people there to support Chase and see if we can't raise some money.
Yes, absolutely here. And to give everybody a little bit of background here on the exacts there, it's going to be, that fundraising event is going to be Saturday, August the 24th at 7 p.m. at Madrid Tapas y Vinos in lovely Miami, Florida there. It's going to say there, donations, we're suggesting $50 a head for donations there, although it is a set your own donation amount. So if you're coming out, make sure you're ready, because we are going to have probably some additional fundraising going on site. I got confirmation that Mike Termont and Jim Turney will also be there in person to give an update on the campaign and what they're looking to do probably over the next month or two here leading into election season. And like Rob said, if you are a Chase supporter, definitely want to see you down in Miami, definitely want to see you in person. I'm going to have the family down there next weekend for this. So, once again, if you can make it out there and you want to support the ticket, this is a great way to do it. Show up in person, give them some media optics too, because keep in mind, guys, even if you don't put in it, you aren't in a position right now to donate the way you would like to, having that media photo op of having a room full of people really helps a lot more than you think as a candidate there. So once again, guys, Miami, August 24th, 7 p.m. It's a Saturday. So come on down. Everybody's off work that day. The LNC has a little group rate. I don't know if any rooms are still available at the Sheraton where they're at. And let's come try and raise some money for the Oliver Termont campaign here. But thank you, Mr. Johnson, for the LNC report there.
Thank you, Mr. Benson, for the cover.
Yeah. Hey, Josh, room code Libertarian. It might still be available for $119 a night. Just look if you just use Libertarian on that Sheridan website.
Awesome. Thanks, Rob. I looked at the normal rate at that hotel, and $119 a night is a significant discount from what they're usually offering there at that Sheraton. So you're coming down, guys, and you need a place to stay. Definitely consider using the group rate. It is a heck of a good deal. Moving along, though, here, if we don't got anything else for LNC, we'll move on to item 8, which is the paid fundraisers report. I don't see Mr. Golob on the call.
Can I ask a question right now, Josh?
Sure.
So I was told that Mark has not actually signed the contract.
I am
So,
aware.
okay, so I'm not aware of it. I just want to bring it up just because I don't know if we should continue having this on the agenda or if he's decided not to do it.
My understanding is that Mr. Golob is still interested. It's just he is trying to get himself in a place in his life where he can, maximize the effectiveness of the job there. So as far as I'm aware at this time, he has not officially signed on, but he is still in agreement to sign on. But that also being said, Ms. Skansky, I do agree with you, and told Mr. Golob does sign this contract. I find this portion of the agenda to be a little redundant, and I would suggest removing it going forward, or until a time where we do have a formalized signed contract from Mr. Golob.
Okay, can we have maybe Matt find out if he's gonna sign it?
Sure.
Yep, I'll
Mr.
reach out. I'll reach out to him.
There we go. Awesome there. All right. Thank you, Mr. Johnson. I appreciate you reaching out there, seeing what Mark's up to there. We'll get this figured out and see if this is something that will be on the next agenda for September, if we are going to preclude that for a different time.
Thanks.
Not a problem there, but I still don't see Mr. Golob on the call, so we will move along here, moving now into item 9, which is committee reports here. I believe we have waived all of the committee reports except for affiliate support, fundraising, legislative action, and membership here. So I do not see Mr. Cordova on the call here for affiliate support. If there is anyone for affiliate support on the call, though, that would like to speak on behalf of the committee, I would entertain at this time a brief update. All right. Hearing and seeing no one, we will circle back around to the affiliate support committee if we get a representative on the call. The next committee here to cover would be, let me take my little cheat sheet here, fundraising there. So Mr. Roos, you can go ahead, give us a quick update on fundraising.
Hi, everybody. So, well, we're down to 3 members on the committee, so that's kind of limited some of our more ambitious activities. But so we decided to tone back and just revisit what our basic approach to fundraising is, and we're working on legislation that we want to bring to you to create a new membership structure that's inspired by the Indiana and Texas parties, where we bring back a different tiered, that is for fundraising purposes, different tiered fundraising levels, and incorporate that into our party. So in other words, like we want to create our own sustaining member program, which is at $75 a year. That's on top of our recurring donor program. That's the $125. And ideally we would that way we can keep, we identified a lot of people are donating to the national that aren't donating to us. So through this method, we can capture the $75. That would be $25 for the LNC, $25 for the LPF, and $25 for the county affiliate. And that way we can actually identify our supporters, make sure we know who our members are, and even our national members. And some of these other states do that. So and it works well for them. We do have so for the next weekend where we have the LNC coming to Miami, where I'm at, we're going to announce just a cocktail reception over at the hotel bar. And that you'll see an email within the next 24 hours on that. We're also looking for people to actually have, meetings with Chair Ricardo that has graciously said that she will meet with people for dinner or for just private time to have that kind of access on Friday night. So if you know anybody who's interested in like just learning more about the party at a very high level and even donating, that's something that we encourage people to do. Of course, we already heard about the August 24th night. And so that's on the longer term. We did end up having a meeting with Mark Golub, who did say that he still wanted to do this. We're trying to help him just get going. Still have to do another follow-up meeting with him on that. But generally, he doesn't answer to us, so we're in a position where like, how best can we help? And that's really the core of our update. The rest of the details are on the bulletin board. I'll take any questions now.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Roos. Mr. Moskrip, I see your hands up for question time. You may go ahead when you're ready, sir.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that Eric and Gabrielle are celebrating their birthdays or their anniversary this weekend, so that's why they're not on the call.
Understood. Happy anniversary to Mr. and Mrs. Cordova in that case.
Thanks for that, David.
Awesome.
Shout
All
out to
right.
the Cordovas. Yay.
I have a question for fundraising.
Go ahead, Mr. Kortzer.
Since the fundraising committee took over after the January convention, can they report on how much they have raised for us in the 6 months since, at least?
I would have to run the report. Typically, that's been something that the treasurer has, in my experience, has prepared. So, but if you like, I can get the report together through Stripe and get back to you even at the end of this meeting.
Yeah, I think people, I understand what you're saying. I think people just want to know that there is some successes and positives since January. So if you guys could report on that. I
Sure.
see someone, a non-EC member asked also.
All right. Well, Mr. Roos, if you can get that over to Mr. Kortzer as quick as possible, that would be great to know.
Yeah, I'd love to see it too.
Mr. Vincent, you have a question? Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm with Lee and Lisa on that. I definitely like to see the numbers there, and I also very grateful for Mr. Golub wanting to step up, but I think maybe at the next fundraising committee meeting, if he can make it, we should have a conversation with him to see if he has the capacity for right now. Just, taking into account his personal situation, which I don't want to air out on a live stream. So I'd like to just talk to him and see if maybe we could maybe think about going another route potentially, and exploring other ideas.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Vincent. And I'd like to remind everybody here that the fundraising agreement that we offered Mr. Golub was a commission-based contract there. It is no burden to the LPF. The only time we would make a payout to Mr. Golub is if he were to make money on behalf of the LPF there. And kind of like Rob or Mr. Vincent alluded to here, that does not preclude us from signing anybody else or multiple anybody else's up for a similar contract. So if you know someone who you think's got some fundraising chops and would like to make a little money through that program, then bring them to the EC's way and, fundraising committee, and we can set up everything and try to get a contract approved for them too. Do we have any further questions for the fundraising committee at this time? All right. Hearing and seeing none, we will continue on with our agenda here, which next up would be legislative action given their report. Mr. Vincent, I know you're on the road here, so when you get the chance, come off mute and let us hear from your committee on what's going on in your neck of the woods.
All right. You guys can hear me okay? I'm about to, so I'll be able to hop back on the computer for the next report. But sorry I didn't get a report in. I have been on the road today, trying to get one of our fellow libertarians out of jail, doing some legal work. So not legislative action, but that's just my excuse there. And I've had 2 comedy shows this week, so a little bit of a busy week. I will get the report done tonight. First point of order, I guess, for the Legislative Action Committee is we have received 3 interests in joining the committee. So next meeting, I will be putting together a motion to add those 3 members to the Legislative Action Committee. One of those being on the call right now, Stacy Keene, expressed her interest in helping me with Defend the Guard. So we're going to be getting names of interested folks to commit to signing up for a class from Defend the Guard, so we can fly Diego down here and show us the strategy and give us all the tools we need to hopefully get Defend the Guard on the ballot here in Florida. So that's number 1. Number 2, Decrim Nature Florida. Orlando has put a pause on its resolution and representative letter writings due to a legal case that came down negatively for the Church of the Mother Earth. So we're putting about a month or 2 pause on that, and then we'll get the wheels rolling back on that again. I've tried working with Jim Turney in Altamont Springs on the motion. He doesn't seem like he wants to do it, but maybe he can find someone else who is in favor of decriminalizing it in Altamont Springs or somewhere nearby. What else? Let's see. And then the voter guide, as I was also talking to Stacy about, our committee getting together once we have all 5 of us there, or all 4 of us there, and coming out with a voter guide for the state. So if your affiliate wants to help out and create a voter guide for its county, you can send that to us, and then we can have the great communications chair post that on our state website, so that any libertarian in Florida, no matter what county they are, can get a voter guide for their county. And that's my report for LAC so far. I'm trying to remember if I have anything else. I have tentative plans to try and do voter registration drives in connection with the affiliate support committee at tailgates in the fall at FSU and the University of Florida, and maybe UWF up here in Pensacola.
All right. Awesome. Thank you, Mr. Vincent, there for your report. Is there any questions or comments for Mr. Vincent or the LAC? All right. I will take the silence as there is no questions or comments here, and we will continue on with the agenda here, which next up would be the membership report, which would round out our committee reports here. That said, I don't see Dr. Mijas here on the call right now. So do we have anybody for membership who would like to speak on the committee's behalf real quick?
Stacy's on that committee, but she just joined. Are you still on, Stacy? Do you want to give us any update?
I was giving her a second to see if she responded.
Looks like she's on mute. There she is.
That darn mute button. Giving an update. We're still working on, he's still working on his campaigns for membership, sending out emails and such. And we're still working on some social media posts to give to the communications committee to get those posted. And that's all we got.
Awesome. Alrighty there. I'm not gonna have you get bombarded there, Miss Keene, with all of the questions there. But if anybody does have questions or comments for the membership committee, please reach out to Dr. Mijas or get with Mr. Johnson, and we'll try and get you answers or find out what's going on if need be there. But I believe that with that completes out item 9. which is committee reports here, guys. Now we would be moving along with the agenda with orders of the day on to item 10, which would be the officer reports and comments. We've struck all officer reports except the treasurer's report. So, Mr. Sokol, when you're ready, you can go ahead with your report, sir.
Okay, I'm going to start on the comment of money that comes in from donors. That's on the report every month, but I have no idea if that was through the fundraising committee or not. So that is on the report. On this month's report, there was, it doesn't look as good as last month's report because we had a bill we paid to Agility PR Solutions for $2,781, but that's an annual fee. So we only see that once. Let's see, the rest is pretty much the same. Still have not heard back from the Nathaniel Snyder campaign. I've been trying to get in touch with him. He's just not answering my emails. Also, I amended the state report to correct the mistakes from the prior treasurer. I filed the federal report, and on Friday I filed the state report. So we won't have any fines. That's about it. Any questions?
Real quick, Mr. Sokol, I just want to address a question in the chat here that I saw, and if we did renew Agility PR, and I know Mr. Johnson had addressed it there, but we did renew Agility PR. Unfortunately, as we were changing over names on the bank account there, the annual payment came through, so was a little delay as we were trying to get all the proper and up-to-date banking information onto the account to make the payment there. But yes, everything was, Agility has been renewed, and Agility PR has been very fruitful for us as a way to garner attention for our party and our candidates over the last 2 years. And I'm glad that we are continuing to utilize that to the best of our ability, I would feel like, at least.
Yes, they were paid and they didn't charge us any late fees.
Outstanding. Thank you, Mr. Sokol. Is there any questions for Mr. Sokol or the treasurer's report at this time? Going once, going twice. Okay. Silence means we are gonna move on. Thank you, Mr. Sokol, here for your report there and the information. Next up on the agenda here is item 11, which is directors at large and regional reports here. We've struck all of the director at large reports there and all of our regional reports except for 1, 3, 4, and 10 there. Region 1 was Mr. Davidson, who I still don't see on the call here. So we're going to skip over Region 1 for right now. Region 3 was Mr. Vinson. I do see Mr. Vinson still on the call. Rob, when you're ready, you can go ahead with your regional report now.
Yeah, just the only update I have for Region 3 right now is I'm talking to a Young Americans for Liberty representative. I forgot her name, but I was talking to her trying to get us a table at YalRev, but she happens to be a former student at FSU and she has connections with the college libertarians there. So I'm in talks with her to try and build a pipeline from the College Libertarian Club at FSU with us to either, help make these tailgates happen or try to build a pipeline from the colleges to our party and not to the Republican Party. So hopefully she gets back to me. Whenever I was trying to get the table, she was pretty responsive. And I think after a large event like that, she's just kind of taking a second to breathe, but we'll see about that. So mainly just still working on getting and gathering contacts in Leon County, Tallahassee. So if you know of anyone that we've worked with in the past in Leon County or anyone that just pops up, just let me know and send it to the Region 3 email. And we will try to make contact with them and set up some sort of event. I think a football tailgate's great / voter registration drive. and I would like to bring the college kids in on that. So that's all I have.
All right. Awesome there. Any questions for Rob on the Region 3 report?
Mr. Chair,
Uh,
Hector Roos.
Go ahead, Mr. Roos.
I just had a question if you had any plans to, if there were any plans out in other universities for tailgating?
No, just FSU.
Okay, thank you.
I'm joking. Yeah, but that's not my region. So I'd obviously University of Florida, Leon, get some libertarians together in Gainesville, and
I'll join.
yeah, Matt will join. I know Stacy Keene is a Gator fan too. I know Patrick Leisner is going to go to the UCF game. So that's an in-state game between two Florida schools. I think we'd be missing out on a major opportunity to do some sign waving. It's in October. It's right before elections. So we can get a bunch of people there and show them we have fun. And I don't know, maybe even I was even thinking on the drive down, we could have libertarian style shirts in the style of the game. And it could say like hibbity hoppity, get off my property, and have like a gator beating a knight or like the knight beating the gator, something like that, to get the message across in a fun way for college football fans and patriots alike. So that's just yeah. And if anyone wants to do a tailgate anywhere, I'm always down to come to it. So I'm a big football fan. I think it's a good strategy. I think it's something we should do.
Awesome. Thank you, Mr. Vincent. And there are plenty of Florida on Florida college football games all around the state. So whether it is FSU, UCF, Miami, the Gators, there's definitely a lot of opportunity for us to get some people out to some games, and whether it's, campaign support or voter registration, there's always opportunities to get our names out there and, put a good foot forward with the public.
And if I think if they see Matt Johnson doing a shotgun or a funnel, they might be more likely to vote for him. So that's just my thoughts there.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Vincent. Is there any further questions for Region 3? All right. Hearing and seeing none, we will move along. Next up would be the Region 4 report. Ms. Armstrong, when you're ready, you can go ahead with your report here.
Okay, sorry. Oh, crap. I'm sorry. Is it working? Can y'all hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, I'm sorry because this thing it says I'm muted and I can't. Okay. I have been working with Miss Gansky on trying to get interviews for one of the local issues that we're having at Rum Island Park. And unfortunately, Miss Gansky found out and people in my region, they are very hard to deal with. So we're still trying to get those interviews, everything done more than just what we have. I mean, it goes deep. We got a witness to police brutality against another local. And so it's just a matter of getting more of those interviews in. And I would love to do something with you all if we are tailgating. But you have to understand there's a difference between Gainesville and Alachua County and where I'm at. There's a huge difference. I mean, we do have Gator fans, but if we're coming in, we got to come in hard with like free merch or something that draws them in, or I don't know if raffles are legal or anything, but because these people are they're kind of stuck in their ways around here. Ms. Gansky, unfortunately, like I said, found out what happens when we do try to help. But we can do this, and that's all I have to report.
Where are you, Leon?
Or currently, am I in High Springs? If you mean my physical location, I'm pinned underneath 2 Great Danes in my house.
Oh, no, I was just asking like what area you're referring to.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm from High Springs. So High Springs is 23 miles north of Gainesville. So Gainesville is extremely city. It's busy. I would compare almost like it's getting as bad as Boston, but where I'm from, it's very rural. We have swamps here. We have mostly where all the fishing spots, the boating spots are. We're the ones with the heavy country accents, and everyone else is over there doing their thing. We're the ones that decisions get made for us, and it wouldn't make any sense. Like, let's say someone passed a law saying no roosters in a certain vicinity, but yet that could be over in a rural area where roosters are needed for farm production. Please get off me. So just to kind of give you an idea of the contrast.
No, I'm fully aware. I'm actually from the Lake City, Live Oak area in Columbia County. I was born and raised there, so I'm very familiar with that neck of the woods. Yeah.
All right. Well, then we're pretty much family.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
All right. Awesome there. Any follow-up questions for Miss Armstrong? Alrighty, hearing nothing further here, we'll move along to our final regional report that was not struck at the beginning of the meeting, which would be Region 10. That is Mr. Allen. Chris, when you are ready, you can go ahead with your report real quick, sir.
Hey, everybody. Nothing to report out of Region 10. My recruit business where I had a good amount of business out there. I've closed, and I have joined a new recruiting company where I will be working in that area as well, but in a different vertical. So I start my new gig on September 10th, and I will be updating my report tomorrow. Apologize, it's not done right now. But I have nothing to report or update anyone on Region 10 at the moment.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Allen. Is there any questions for Chris real quick for his report? Alrighty then. All right. Thank you, Mr. Allen. Appreciate that there. Not hearing or seeing anything, so we will move along, which would mean that would complete all of our director at large and region reports that were not struck at the beginning of the meeting here. So going back on orders of the day here, that would lead us into item 12, which is the chairman's consent agenda here. Only thing on that for this month is the removal of Miss Cordova from the fundraising committee, as her time constraints no longer allow her to commit the time and ability to be on the committee right now. So assuming there is no objection, we are going to release Miss Cordova from her commitment to the fundraising committee. Thank her for her service to the committee and to the LPF. And
looks like
no worries there. And it's going to say there,
no
as
idea
always,
what you guys are doing.
Here, going to mute Mr. Allen here. Mr. Allen, if you have something, just come back off mute for us here. Otherwise there, guys, want to thank Ms. Cordova again for her service to the LPF and to the fundraising committee, and look forward to when she is available again to rejoin us in our activities here. All right, item 13 would be new business, it looks like here. So I was going to say normally old business or unfinished business is first here, but it looks like that is later on, and I see why now.
Point of information, Chair.
Go ahead, Ms. Gansky.
I wrote this in the email that I sent out, but I did move old business to after new business because it will need to be an executive session. So this was by design so that we can not have to move everybody to a waiting room while we do that. Because there's, so.
Nope, that's what I was saying at the end there. I realized afterwards that made a lot more sense reading through E and then on the 14. All right.
Yeah.
No worries there. I confused myself. That's what I get for not being as prepared as maybe I could have been there. So let's get back on orders of the day, guys, now that I'm done bamboozling myself. Item 13, new business. Section A under new business is the election of a deputy treasurer. At this time here, the chair will take any nominations for appointment to the position of deputy treasurer. Going once, going 2 times. Last chance on the deputy treasurer, and we are going to close this appointment nomination out there. As we've done every month, if we do have somebody who is interested in the deputy treasurer position, definitely let them know to be on the next EC meeting. Would also highly advise having them talk to Mr. Sokol, myself, and Mr. Johnson as well, and then we will try and get them on board as quickly as possible after the next meeting. Moving along, item B, which is motion number 837. This is titled Funding for Sign Waiving Materials for Chase Oliver / Mike Termont. The mover is Mr. Cummings here. Do I have a second on this motion?
I'll second it.
All right, Mr. Sokol seconds. Mr. Cummings, would you like to speak to your motion real fast, sir?
Sure. Everybody can hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's simple. It's pretty simple and straightforward. So I went down, I've been circulating, getting out to the affiliates, and I went down to St. Johns County, and they said, hey, we're currently dealing with an issue with our bank and the EIN number that they're trying to resolve. In the meantime, they wanted to, so that means they cannot collect any fundraising at the moment. So in the meantime, they were like, hey, is there any way maybe the LPF could designate some money for us to purchase some signs so that we can sign waive for our candidate, do some activism in St. Johns County. So I said, well, let me, only one way to find out. So I submitted a motion. So it's pretty straightforward. They just want to do some activism down there. And then a little assist as they work out their issues with the banking.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Cummings. Is there anybody who would like to speak to or for this motion real quick, and then we'll start going in alternating order?
I would like to make a comment on it.
All right. Joe, you can go first. Ms. Gansky, I know you got your hand up. Mr. Koritzer's hand just came up. Mr. Vincent's hand just came up. So in that order, Mr. Sokol, you can go ahead first.
I'm just going to make a suggestion. If we approve this, because it's a federal candidate, I would suggest we buy the signs and give it to St. Johns County. So we run it through our federal account. St. Johns County probably does not have a federal account.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Sokol. Good. Definitely a good point to be making here. Ms. Gansky, Mr. Koritzer, Mr. Vincent, in that order. Ms. Gansky, you can go ahead when you're ready.
Yeah, I don't think we should do this. The reason why is I think that's a lot of money for a sign waving event that I'm not convinced is going to have more than a couple people. Maybe I'm wrong, but the reason I think this is people are not willing to spend $25 to get their own sign. And, we've done things like this before in other groups where you just buy the signs in a group. You put your money together and you buy some signs. And I don't think that it's a good reason that they don't have a bank account set up, that's why they can't do it. They can still get together and they can make one purchase so they don't have to waste money on shipping. And as Stacy said, it's even less than 25 if they buy more than one. I just don't think this is a good way for us to be spending money that we could be spending money on other things like our candidates. That's all.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Skansky here. Mr. Kortzer, you can go ahead when you're ready, sir.
Yes, I was going to raise the question of whether it's considered federal because they're federal candidates. And second to that, to Ms. Gansky point, they are our candidates. So they're not Florida candidates for Congress, but they're Libertarian candidates for president, vice president. Broward in the past has done this it gets name recognition out there. And a perfect example of why it's necessary to get name recognition. I was talking to someone on Friday night who was totally unaware we had a candidate and said, "Oh, when are you guys going to have yours?" And when I explained it to him, he looked them up. He had real interest. People are not aware because the press will not put out there. So if you can get 50 people to hold signs at major intersections, at a minimum, you may get additional interest in people checking up on the candidates. Because right now, no one even knows they exist. So I'm leaning to support this unless someone can give me a convincing reason not to.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Kortzer. Mr. Vincent, you can go ahead when you're ready, sir.
Thanks. I am leaning to not support this. I agree with both Lee and Lisa here. I just think we don't have a lot of money in our bank account to be spending on this, where we could come up with alternatives like individuals purchasing the signs that they're going to get to keep anyway, unless you want to send that back to the LPF and us send it to another sign waving event. Another alternative I can think of is Duval. You guys have a lot of people in Duval County. You guys could go help St. Johns County out. It's in your region. I think that's another solution we can think of here. And I'd be more inclined to give this money to St. John's if we had more money in a federal account to spend on something like this, which is something that the JFC would do. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Vincent. Mr. Roos, I see your hands up. Mr. Mosgrip, I see your hands up here. You two can go ahead in that order when you're ready here.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think that it's just to follow up on what Mr. Vincent was saying. I think the first funds that come out of the JFC should go exactly to this kind of purpose. And certainly because it goes to our federal funds. This is exactly what the purpose is of getting that kind of money to make these kind of expenses now when we have these expenses. I hope that is an expectation we all share at least. So I would definitely support this if we have those funds available to us. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Roos here. All right, Mr. Mosgrip, you can go ahead, and then we got Mr. Johnson and then Mr. Vincent's hand back up there.
Yeah. Do we have any kind of report when it comes to our funds? Because I think that is what everybody is curious about. So we can't really make a decision unless we know like what's happening with our funding right now.
Oh, that was the earlier treasurer's report where we got our funds noted there. Don't have the numbers directly in front of me here, but Mr. Sokol, could you just real quick give us what our current bank account amount is looking like, just to give everybody on the EC a rough idea of what we do have in the tank, so to speak?
Sure. This is all as of July 31st. In our federal funds account, we have 1,300. And in our state funds, we have $23,660.29.
Can you repeat that one more time, Joe, please?
Federal is 1,300. State 23,660.29.
But so sorry, I'm not trying to interrupt, but I'm saying like if we're talking about like our expenses, like we need to, this is how we can make this decision, like that Rob and Matt, like all of us are trying to figure out is like, what are our expenses versus like our funds that we have in order to decide whether or not this is a good expenditure.
Are you asking me that question?
I don't know. I don't know who I'm asking.
So
that's just my concern.
Okay.
I think you were just making a point, no?
Yeah, I think that was
I
just
mean,
a
I can try to answer that.
No. Yeah. I'm not trying to be a jerk. I'm not trying to point
that's
out.
fine.
Just the point being like if we're going to talk about how much we're going to spend for something like this, we need to also understand what our expenses are versus the amount of money we have, all of that stuff. It just seems like it's reasonable to ask that question.
Yes, it is. And I haven't had a chance to really go back what's been happening the past few years. The biggest thing was getting that state report done on Friday, but it's apparent to me that our biggest expense has been, especially this year, is our convention. We seem to be really good at losing money at our conventions. Besides that, if you actually look at the report, I have on there fixed reoccurring expenses. These are funds that we spend every month. Long term, I've looked at it since the beginning of the year. Our balance is slowly going down, slowly, since the beginning of the year. But most of that has been for the convention. I don't know if that answers your question. If we didn't have our conventions, we would be doing fine.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Sokol, for trying to do your best to address Mr. Moskrip's question there. I do see Mr. Vincent, your hand's up for a second bite at the apple, I believe. Same thing with Mr. Johnson. So
it would be my first, Mr. Chair.
Oh, okay. So Matt, because it's your first, I'm going to let you go first here because I'm looking at two different screens and they're in two different orders anyway. So that's on me. And then Rob, you're going to get your shot next there. So Mr. Johnson, when you're ready, you can go ahead, sir.
Sure. I would like, due to the fact that we only have, I believe he said $1,300 in our federal account, where there's a current motion on the agenda regarding the joint fundraising committee that would boost our federal funds in that account, and the fact that we are pending a $5,000 fine, I would motion to table this until those things are resolved.
Second.
All right, let's everybody calm down here. So there's been a motion to table this motion here because so Matt, you said in total resolved here. So that technically would be a motion to what's the
postpone indefinitely.
Yes, postpone indefinitely there. So if we go ahead
Sure,
with that,
if that's what my motion has to be, so that it's correct with Groner, that's fine. And then if it comes up again after at another point and things are different, then so be it.
Okay, awesome there. So this is a motion to postpone indefinitely. They're open in front of me because I'm kind of on the road right now, but can anybody remind me if this requires a majority or a 2/3 here for this vote?
I think motion to table is just majority, but
it is.
I could be wrong.
It is? Okay, because I wasn't sure if the motion to postpone indefinitely required a higher threshold. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head and having a little brain fart, but assuming it is just a majority vote there, guys, that with this CC would require 11 that since we have 20 on the call currently here. So is there any motion to postpone isn't debatable, correct? Don't believe it's debatable. No, it's not debatable here. No. Okay, so the motion to postpone is not debatable there. It does require a majority vote to pass here. It was moved by Mr. Vincent or moved by Mr. Johnson, second by Mr. Vincent here. So we will move into a quick, hopefully quick voice vote here. And let's see if we can get a majority there. So a yes vote would be to postpone this motion indefinitely, which means this could not be the last time we hear about it here, but does mean we will forego the rest or finalizing a decision tonight. A no vote would be to continue on and make a decision on this motion. Does anybody not? All right, hearing no questions here. All in favor of postponing this motion indefinitely, please say yes.
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 All
There was a
opposed?
question
Yes.
in the chat about what y'all are postponing.
I answered it. DL, we're postponing the entire motion.
Yeah,
Josh, your internet is going out.
yeah, Lisa answered it for me. I got kicked off. My power went out.
Question indefinitely, guys. I'm aware, guys. I'm kind of on my. Yep, I got you there, guys.
Point of information. If we're having bandwidth
Kind of
issues,
working off the cell phone service right now, so I apologize. But once again, this was a motion to postpone. It does sound like the yes has had it, even with that one confusion there.
Hey, Matt, if Josh has to hand the gavel to you, do you have to hand it to me because this is your motion? It
Yep.
seems like he's completely out.
Yes, I think that is how that has to happen.
Unfortunately, so I will take any no votes here, but I'm pretty sure that yes has had it.
Josh, you're running in and out. There's no. I would
Great,
also
looks
ask
like
that
we
if anyone,
continue on along here.
if anyone is on video, to shut their video off. Maybe that'll help out with bandwidth. So
Yeah,
that,
Leon, maybe you turn off your video.
yeah, and Deanna and Joe, maybe that'll help out. Get the chair back on.
Not going to be good for our YouTube streaming.
No, it looks like we lost him anyway.
Okay. Do you want to hand it to me?
Let me look. Is that the next thing on the agenda? Yeah. So I have the gavel currently with Josh dropping out, and until he gets back, I'm going to hand the gavel to Ms. Gansky because the motion coming up is my motion. So Ms. Gansky has the gavel.
Point of order. I just want to be clear. I don't think we heard Josh ask for no votes.
Yeah, he asked for no votes. We never got them. So
okay.
that's
Okay. So then we'll go. All right. Then before I hand the gavel over, all those opposed.
Well, it's your motion, so you can't take no votes on your motion. Right?
Oh,
this
yeah,
is not his. Is this also
It
his
is.
motion?
He motioned to postpone
No.
indefinitely.
Oh yeah, that was mine. So yeah, Ms. Gansky
Right.
has the gavel. So go ahead.
Yeah, I just want the power, guys. Can I have
Guys,
it once?
can we please like make it clear what we are?
Yeah, I will. David, give me a chance.
Yeah.
Give me a
It's
chance. Okay.
very weird right
So we had our yes votes. If the no votes are not clear, we will do a roll call vote. So don't worry, Stacy. Okay, we got you. So those who only EC members, obviously, let's take the no vote now. I'm not hearing any no's. Okay, so we're going to approve the voice vote, and the motion has been postponed indefinitely. And I'll hand the gavel back to Matt.
Actually, I'm going to hand the gavel right back to you because the next motion is my motion.
Okay. Great. Okay, so motion 838, this is to do with the convention agreement. This was attached, so if you guys saw the agreement in your emails, you should have taken a gander at it. We did have it approved by audit to bring to today. So this motion is Matt on behalf of the convention committee to move to approve the agreement with the Daytona Hotel at Daytona 1 in Daytona Beach. So does anyone have any questions for Matt? Joe?
Just a heads up, this was passed out of convention committee unanimously, so it does not require a second, as I understand.
Yeah, that's correct. You're just presenting it for them because they passed it already. Joe, did you have something to add?
Yes, I have a question about the contract. A couple questions, actually. The food and beverage minimum of $2,500, is that for the whole entire weekend? And exactly what does that include? Just at our specific events, or if I go to one of the restaurants?
That's the minimum that we need to spend, like that we are contractually obligated to. over the course of the entire event. That's the minimum that we required, which is significantly lower than at least the last 4 conventions, which have had quite a bit higher food and beverage minimums.
Okay. Two other questions. The $20 daily food and beverage credit, is that just good for one day?
Beth is on the committee who actually spoke directly to the person. Gabe is here also to speak on this. So I'm going to hand these specific questions over directly to the committee. So Gabe or Beth, either one of you guys want to field these, feel free.
It would make sense that the $20 would be per night stay, but we don't have an exact answer for that, but we can definitely get back to you on that for the $20. Beth, do you know?
Yes, we actually do have an answer on that. The $20 a day is a destination fee that's pretty common through most of the resorts, pretty much everywhere nowadays. But the $20 is charged to your room per day, and it is a credit per day to any of the venues, restaurants or bars.
Okay.
So like, you want breakfast or cocktails, whatever, you got $20 to spend.
And one more question. I'm looking at the rental, it totals like $1,800. You guys looked at several other venues. How do they compare in the rental for the event park, the large rooms?
Out of the several that we visited, this one is definitely the nicest and within the top 3 cheapest. The price difference wasn't enough to justify going with another option.
Yeah, and I'll add to that. In my opinion, they really don't compare because the other venues that we looked at were either much smaller, much more dated, far less marketable for sure. So yeah.
A lot of them had parking fees too.
Okay, the other ones had parking fees?
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot of them did.
Just for reference, there's a Hard Rock Hotel in Daytona, actually on the beach, and they have a $30 a day destination fee on top of a $25 a day parking.
Okay. And sorry, one last question. The nightly fees, they comparable to the other ones you looked at for the rooms for us, the convention people?
I'd say within a $15 margin of error.
Okay.
Yeah, most of the Daytona resorts are actually a little bit higher because there's a lot going on in May and June. So this is a very reasonable rate for the area.
Okay. All right, thanks.
Mr. Lee. Oh, sorry, I'm not chair.
Yeah,
Off the
Lee,
chair,
go for
Brett.
it. Go for it.
Thank you. As I just wanted to put the 2 cents from audit. We reviewed it and we didn't have any objections. The numbers that we are liable for is much lower than in previous recent conventions. A couple of things to be aware of. We are committed as the LPF, not the individual people, but the LPF, for a $2,500 food and beverage, which is amongst the lowest I've ever seen in the last 5-6 years. So that was a plus. The thing that you need to also understand is we said we wanted 100 room nights, of which we have a commitment to meet 80 room nights. Anything less than 80 room nights, they'll charge back to us for a night stay, technically, if they couldn't rent it out. That's, if you look at the contract, I want to make sure you understand that. When you figure out that, okay, we could make 80 total nights, which is a person staying 2 nights, 40 people, it should be doable. It's reasonable. So that 100, it's actually 80% of that. The overall risk to us is less than previous, and that was the other plus. As for the other hotels, I ordered, can I speak to it? But this contract for the numbers is a reasonable contract, and we wanted to bring it over to the full EC for you guys to decide.
Still down for more questions.
Still up. Yeah, I saw that Hector asked the same question in the chat. I have one question, so I'm gonna go ahead and ask it. Does somebody do we have an idea of how many rooms were rented last convention? Because I don't remember it being close to 80, but I could be completely off. I thought it was like half of that. I may be completely off. So Gabe, if you know.
It's room nights. So
It's room nights. So
yes.
if people are renting it for like, if they're taking it for like 3 days, okay. I think that's
Correct.
much. Okay, cool. I'm good. Thank you. Thank you, Gabe.
You're welcome.
So does anyone else have any questions? If not, we will go ahead and take a voice vote.
I just had a quick question.
Okay, go for it, Hector.
Hector Roos. Yes. So I was just kind of curious, what are the other busy events that are happening that weekend? Are we hitting, like, are we going to a venue that already is very busy, or are right? That was my first question. The second one is, what big ticket item additional expenses are we expecting, because we're using this facility, like in terms of production, lighting, AV. Those are we spent a considerable amount of money last year on it unexpectedly. So just wanted to ask that. Thank you.
Well, the main thing is going to be events on the beach, like summer break, the cheerleading tournament. I believe there's going to be some sort of concert over there. It's not Rockville, but those are all going to be on the beach. They're all going to. What's up?
It is Rockville. Welcome
Okay,
to
yeah.
Rockville.
I always get the it is and it's not mixed up. But yes, there's gonna be Rockville. So what was your second question?
The what other expected expenses are we planning to incur because we're using this location? Usually it's AV and sound provided by the hotel is usually a big ticket in terms of expense.
I spoke with. Oh, I'm sorry. I cut you off.
No,
so
I didn't see it in the contract. I didn't see it in the contract, so we didn't. But we're going to use it.
It is a separate cost. However, I spoke earlier with Mark Golob and Jim Turney in a group text that said that AV would not be an issue, that we'd be able to have it provided to us without any extra costs.
In addition, I actually have the audiovisual pricing menu from the Daytona Hotel, and it's not exorbitant. I don't feel, because we will have a second room that we need to provide AV for breakout sections. But like I said, it's not exorbitant, and whatever, we're going to go with Jim Turney and Mark Golob, of course, first. But after that, I really don't anticipate any large, big ticket separate items.
Are we good on that one? Robert has his hand up.
Robert.
Yeah. I would just highly encourage you guys to get back with the hotel and have an AV section on here stating that we're not going to incur any costs, and lay that out, and then include a merger clause in the contract that says this is the whole contract, because otherwise they can bring in other documents, like you're saying there's an AV document out there. So we need to have a full understanding, because that's a big cost that we ate last time, and we've ate it before. So I just encourage us to get an understanding with the hotel on the AV in writing, so we can have a good total figured out.
So I'd like to jump in there, Gabe, if you don't mind. I had a conversation with the hotel gentleman that we've been working with to build out the room block on Friday. the next steps happen. This contract that we've presented to the EC tonight is strictly for the meeting space and the room block. Once we send that signed and approved to them, they will build out the room block, send us the link for reservations, and then the convention committee will meet with the actual event organizer. And that's when we will go through the menus, the extra expenses, all of that information, what we need, what we don't need. On a side note, there's no extra expense if we choose to use our own AV people. They don't care. So I'm anticipating that we will need to bring a second contract to you guys for adoption and approval. But right now we just need to get this room block built out so that we can target the location and start marketing the event and booking speakers.
Gotcha.
100%. Josh.
Josh.
Awesome.
Are you good now, Josh?
Yeah, I'm back on Wi-Fi, guys, so I should be good. So I'll take back over
yeah,
here.
Go for it.
I did have a question though, because I was looking over the contract, and I just wanted to confirm something here. It sounds like Ms. Johnson kind of answered my second question I had first here, which is, would the convention committee be coming back with a secondary contract for the AV and all of that stuff outside of the room block there, which it sounds like they expect to. So just to confirm here, the dates we are looking at, and I'm sure it's already been asked, so I do apologize here, but we're looking at the first weekend in June. Is that correct for the room block, guys?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yes,
so
the room block will start Thursday, June 5th through Sunday, June 8th.
All right, outstanding there. So we got a pretty longer than normal runway compared to years past, where we've generally had the convention sometime between March and April. So, yeah, it sounds like,
I'm sorry to interrupt, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to add that was intentional because of market values of hotel rooms in the month of May. We thought it more prudent to just move a little bit into June to save money.
That is a-okay. I actually think that was something I suggested very early on to the committee, is if you wanted to push it out to May or June, that we were, don't want to use the word encumbered, but we are unburdened by what was with the LNC National Convention.
Don't you ever say that again.
So we don't have to worry about getting our convention done in any sort of objective time frame in order to meet the deadline. So no problem with it. I actually think it's a good idea to push it out a little bit later. Yeah, I think it might encourage some more attendance, considering the best attending convention I've been to in my time in the LPF was one held in the middle of June. So, just food for thought on that one there. And otherwise, I just want to say good work on the getting the contract together here. And if this passes, I look forward to hearing that second contract down the road, hopefully sometime in at the very latest February or March. But absolutely, the sooner we can get that, the better. Hector, I see your hand is up, though. You can go ahead if you have a question here.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I was looking over the contract. It says we are doing 2,500 F&B minimum. What does it actually get us? Or what is the expectation for food on the premises? Because the same clause says that they're banning off-site caterers.
Yes, it's standard as every year. We have to spend at least 2,500. If we spend more, that's fine. We have to pay for it, but that's how much we have to spend in order to meet the room rental, the room rental minimums. So we pick a menu, we sell it. If we want a bar, we have the bartender. The funds for that go towards the food and beverage minimum. It's just making them have enough sales in order to make us worth it to the space provided.
Right. So how much more above the minimum do you think we're going to get into and that's a separate contract, right, as well?
Yes, I mean, it depends how many registrations we get for the Libertarian Convention. We base our number roughly off that because it gives an idea of how many people are going to show up and how many packages are sold. And we have until, I believe it's May, to put those numbers in for how much food that we actually do need.
Okay. So do you know how many? So in other words, if we had 80 people show up, which is kind of like the middle average.
So it's cumulative over the entire event. So if we do like a VIP reception or a welcome reception or whatever you would have, and we spend $700 on a bar and $500 on whatever, that's $1,200 met already in one event. It's just going to be up to us to put together, up to the convention committee, that is, to put together what VIP packages we're going to offer, price them out accordingly, and work with communications to market them. Is that accurate, Gabe?
Yes.
Right.
That's 100% accurate.
So do you have like a ballpark figure about how much, like what will probably be the end FMB cost?
We need to first sell packages.
Okay.
Yeah, we have to meet a minimum of 2,500. We're not fiduciarily responsible above $2,500.
That's where you come in, Hector.
No, I understand. I'm just trying to get a gauge of what the menu costs were like, because we haven't seen those either here. Because basically, I'm just saying, do we have an average that we can say we're going to get 80 people? About half of them are going to show up for a breakfast, half of them are going to show up for a lunch, or dinner, or gala, or whatever we're doing, or whatever you're planning. And then those are at least some costs that we can kind of figure how much more we're going to spend. It's fine if we could say another $5,000. I think another $5,000 is probably okay. I just want to.
But again, Mr. Roos, we haven't gotten to that step of the process yet. We need to get this room block built out so we can start selling rooms, and then the convention committee will meet with catering. We'll meet with the event planner. We'll find out all of those other things. But if the food and beverage costs, we're only buying $2,500 worth of food and beverage. If people want more than that, more than what we are bringing into the rooms, then there is a restaurant and there is a bar, and there are multiple other restaurants and bars in the area that people can go to. But as far as what we are giving to people, it's only going to be $2,500.
I was just going to say the same thing, Beth. Like, all we need to hit is the 2,500. Selling more of that doesn't do anything for us. We don't need to have 1,000 meals at one convention. We can just have 2 meals that cover the food and beverage costs and use the rest for events that will raise some real funding for the party without any sort of cost expenditure in order to make profit.
Real quick here, just to kind of speak in defense of this a little bit here too. Just historically, guys, on my time on the EC as vice chair and then as chair, food and beverage for convention has historically been, on my time, somewhere between an $8,000 to $12,000 minimum. So I want everybody to keep in mind, as we're really getting into the weeds on a $2,500 minimum, is that we have taken on minimums that were 3 to 5 times this amount and have either found a way to make it work or have paid for the luxury of not making it work, shall we say. So, I don't want people to lose sight that this is 3 to 5 times lower of a F&B minimum than we've historically had on my time on the EC. Mr. Moscrip, go ahead, though.
Yeah, I just want to say, I think that Hector's question is legitimate. How much per person will this cost? And the reason why I'm asking this is because there needs to be a real expectation of how much money needs to be raised. Sorry, I'm very sick. And so the question is if we're trying to raise a bunch of money for a convention or for food and drinks or for anything like that, what is Hector or any of us trying to figure out what the expense would be as far as it comes down to a per person or a sponsorship? Because that's ideally that's what should be happening right now, right? we should be reaching out to companies. We should be reaching out to like gun ranges. We should be reaching out to different organizations saying, do you want to sponsor this? So that we can have your name up like on a sign instead of it being like us asking, how much money should the party be paying? And so I think that's like the legitimate side of what Hector is asking is like per person, how much is this going to cost?
So,
No,
Mr.
Dan, I
Mosker,
completely 100% agree with you. We spoke in the prequel phases with Lisa about doing a magazine with local gun shops or dispensaries, what have you, about having their sponsorship in there and possibly even upgrading to get a table of their own. The fundraising ideas we're in no shortage of. So, I'm confident we're going to raise money there. The realistic expectation, like we're still in phase 1 of this. Phase 2 is getting things for people to buy, and phase 3 includes packages that the party will sell, and that's when we'll get an idea of how many people are coming and what they're coming for.
I'll also add on to that, Mr. Mosker, to answer your question. The immediate liability that the LPF will be held for if we cancel up to you'll see the contract says up to 91 days prior to the event is 70% of the contractual amount, which totals $14,840. The rest of everything else that happens, we can't possibly give you those numbers yet because we haven't sussed out the rest of the details.
What was that percentage, Beth?
70% up to 91 days prior to the event.
Thank you.
Just in case you wanted to know, Lisa, 90 to 31 days is 90%, and at 30 days, it's 100%.
At how many? It's 100%?
30 days prior.
Okay.
All right. Thank you there, guys. Mr. Johnson, Mr. Koritzer, I see both your hands went up in that order there. Mr. Johnson, when you're ready, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, my comments are in the chat. I would like to call the question.
Second.
All right.
Second.
All right. Mr. Johnson has called the question. There have been several seconds there. The motion to call the question is not debatable, but it does require a 2/3 to pass here. So what we're going to do, guys, is we're going to vote on the motion to call the question first. So we'll need a 2/3 vote. If that passes, we'll go directly into voting on the main motion, which is approving the convention contract here. So a yes vote would be right now to call the question and move on to that vote on the convention agreement. A no vote would be to continue discussion on the convention agreement. Does anybody not understand what we're voting on?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir, Mr. Roos.
I still had some more questions, but is it too late to continue asking?
Yes, sir, Mr. Roos. The question has been called. We are looking to end debate here. So if there is duly noted here, and it will be noted in the votes as well here. That being said here, motion to call the question does require 2/3. So once again, a yes vote would be to call the question and move into voting on the main motion. A no vote would be to sustain continuing debate and discussion on this motion here. Once again, before we start voting, is anybody confused or does not understand what we're voting on? All right, we'll try this by a simple voice vote to start. All in favor of calling the question, please say yes.
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 All opposed to calling the question, please say no. Hearing no nos, the ayes definitely have calling the question there. We'll move along to vote on the main motion, which is the motion to approve the 2025 convention agreement here. So a yes motion would be to approve the agreement as presented here by the convention committee. A no vote would be to disapprove this, which would mean the convention committee would have to come back to us with a new convention agreement here. Before we vote, is there any questions on what we're voting on or how your vote would how voting would go depending on how you vote? All right. Once again, yes vote to approve the agreement, no vote to disapprove the agreement. All in favor of approving the 2025 convention agreement here, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
All opposed, please say no. All right, hearing no objections, it seems like the ayes have it. Congratulations, we have a convention agreement for the 2025 convention. Convention committee, let's get that all signed off. Let us know if there's anything you need from the EC to make this all official, and that way we can get it to them, and let's start being able to advertise where we're at and when we're doing it.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you guys on the committee there for your hard work. And once again, look forward to seeing what else you bring forth to the EC over the next couple months leading in the convention here. That being closed out on that business there, we're moving into motion 839. This motion is titled Motion to Rescind and Remove Unauthorized JFC Agreement. The mover is Matt Johnson. Is there a second on this motion?
I just want to say real quick, thank you for allowing us to speak on behalf of the convention venue on your meeting.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Wozniak here. All right, well, back on orders of the day here. We're back on the motion 839, motion to rescind and remove unauthorized JFC agreement. Mover is Matt Johnson. Once again, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, Mr. Moscript seconds here. Mr. Johnson, would you like to speak to your motion real quick?
Sure. So when I had initially made this motion, I had several reasons behind making the motion. And the more I look into the actual agreement itself and our rules, I've spoken with the rules committee. The rules committee has made their ruling. I have seen your rebuttal to the rules committee, and I vehemently disagree. And this is nothing against you personally, Josh. I love you as a human being. But the LPF standing rules specifically state that the executive committee shall be the sole authority to authorize contributions, blah, 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 and to approve LPF contractual agreements with candidate campaigns, period. That is the standing rule. I have posted that in the chat. Now, some may all argue, and Hector have both argued, that this is an agreement with the LNC, but it is not. Looking at the actual agreement, Team Kennedy, their campaign has signed on to this agreement. This is an agreement between the Libertarian Party of Florida, the Libertarian Party of Colorado, the American Independent Party of California, and the LNC and Kennedy's campaign. As such, since this did not go through the executive committee to be voted on, technically it should be void, but I'm asking the EC here and now to vote to rescind it. Now, should one of you in the future decide that you want to move this and bring it to the EC and vote on it, then we'll let the chips fall where they may. But that's where I'm at on this.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Is there any further discussion on the motion here?
Yeah.
All right. Go ahead, Mr. Vincent, when you're ready, sir.
Yeah, I'd just like to echo what the chair of the party stated earlier, that, you know, some of us might have issues with how this agreement was entered in, and I certainly do as well. But I would wish not to throw the baby out with the bathwater here. I think that the LPF is in need of funds, and obviously some people on this call want at least 360 of those dollars to go to a sign waving thing. We can't afford anything, let alone to buy these signs for fundraising for a sign waving event here right now. So I think that if Matt would be open to it, I think we should discuss this and figure out as an EC what we want to do. I think we should keep the money, and I think we should amend this motion to reaffirm the JFC agreement with you know, we should reaffirm the deal with the JFC agreement. Whether the discussion is if it's a deal with Team Kennedy, whether it's a deal with the LNC, I really don't care. I think the agreement is fine. It puts money in our pockets, money that is not coming from libertarians, money that's coming from people donating to Kennedy, and it's per every single maximum donor, we get $1,000, and so you get 10 of them. That's $10,000. I think this is money that if we turn away, I would like to see the people who are turning away this money come up with fundraising ideas to raise similar funds that would have been raised had we stayed on the deal.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Vincent here. Now, just to reaffirm here, were you making a suggestion or were you trying to make an amendment with?
No,
what
I'm
you
gonna
were
make
saying?
I'm gonna make a suggestion right now because I'd like to hear some discussion. And I'm not gonna
Okay.
make the amendment right now.
Understood. Nope. That was why I was asking there, just to make sure it was just a suggestion. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Vincent, for your comments here. I got a ton of hands up here in order. I got Ms. Skansky, Mr. Ferguson, Mr. Montgomery, Mr. Johnson, Mr. Kortzer, and Mr. Roos in that order. We will be going in that order. So, Ms. Skansky, you have the floor now. Go ahead, ma'am.
Yeah, I'd like to just remind everybody we're the party of principle. I think it's very unprincipled for us to take this money. I also don't think we should rescind the agreement. I think we should leave it as is. I mean, sorry, I don't think we should change it. I think we should rescind the agreement. We should not change the motion. We should leave it as it is. I think if it was such a good idea, Josh would have brought it to the EC. He did not. That to me speaks volumes. And again, I just don't think it's principled. So I would urge everybody to leave it as is. We rescind it and we move on. And I would also add that we should have been fundraising a lot more. And the fact that we haven't been fundraising, we can't rely on our enemy in our competition to make up the grounds for the fact that we're not like our nobody's calling anyone. Like there's no fundraising going on. We can't use this as a crutch. We need to stay principled. That's it.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Skansky. Mr. Ferguson, you can go ahead, sir, when you're ready.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to echo Rob's sentiment. I'm 100% on board with taking this money. If our competitors are going to pay us to thwart them, I am in support of that. I would also like to request that you would, I guess, address your counterpoints to the Rules Committee, Mr. Chair, and lay out your reason for wanting to be signed on to this as well. That's all I have.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Ferguson here. Once we get through, if there's time, I will, at the risk of prejudicing the board here, I will be happy to give my opinion here, or my feelings on the matter. Mr. Montgomery, though, you were next up in line. You can go ahead when you're ready, sir.
I'm in favor of rescinding it. I think we have to follow the rules and the form and do it right. If somebody wants to move it again, I'm not sure I'm going to vote. I need to hear more. But I think we need to rescind it because it wasn't done correctly.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Montgomery. Mr. Johnson, go ahead, sir, when you're ready.
It was mentioned by Mr. Vincent that we should just reaffirm this, and I'm again going to bring up the Rules Committee, and this is not just the opinion of one person, it's the opinion of the committee as stated by the chair, which is their job to understand and interpret the rules, and we as a governing body are supposed to go by what they recommend. And as per the Rules Committee that was stated in their report, it cannot just simply be voted on. It requires a suspension of the standing rules and a 2/3 vote in order to agree to sign on to this. This is not emotional. This is not irrational. This has zero to do with anything. The candidate the national delegates chose is not the favorite among a lot of people in the party. I don't care about that. I signed up for the LPF and I volunteer a shit ton more hours of my time for this party than most people on this call, as well as my hard-earned dollars at every level. I signed up because we're the party of principle, and it is not principled to just shirk the rules because it makes us a quick buck. If we need money, then we need to be dialing our members, not even our members, but those who used to be donors and who are no longer donating. Why are they not donating? What do they want to see from us? We need to fundraise, but we need to do it the right way. I would call the question, but I see a lot of hands up, so I'm going to let them get their opinions out.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Johnson. We do have some hands up just to get everybody back on track here. I got in order Mr. Kortzer, Mr. Roos, Mr. Cummings, and a second bite at the apple from Mr. Vincent here. So we will go down the line in that order. Mr. Kortzer, when you're ready, you have the floor now, sir.
Thank you. It took me a while to reach the decision, but I'm going to vote in support of rescinding. The whole agreement with the LNC and Kennedy team left a bad taste on day one. When I heard that, Josh, you signed on behalf of the LPF, I was disappointed. I figured you had a good reason. I've researched it. I understand the pluses on income that we're in desperate need of, and that probably was what drove you to move this forward, figuring you had approval. But in the end, that agreement provides 90% support to a candidate who's not our LPF candidate. Had they kept 10% and given us 90%, I would be having a different discussion. But they're not. And the money, because it's coming through federal, I believe has to go into our federal account, which really doesn't do as good day to day. We still have to fundraise. And for the last year and a half, the fundraising committee has not raised a lot of funds. Period. I'm not going to blame an individual. Fundraising is tough and it sucks. It's like sales. You call and get no 99% of the time. But this agreement should be flushed away. I'm sorry about that, Josh, but I cannot support it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Kortzer here. Mr. Roos, you can go ahead when you're ready, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to clarify a few points about what we're actually talking about here. So, if there is this board has a suggestion from the Rules Committee, it's an opinion like anybody else's. I disagree with their opinion, and the core argument that I'm just going to mention here right now is that we have a motion right in front of us to rescind. So if we approve rescinding, then we are saying that the chair actually had the authority to enter into the agreement in the first place, and the Rules Committee opinion is wrong. So I want everybody to think about that for a second, because that is what a rescind motion does. It rescinds something that actually was authorized, period. You cannot rescind something that wasn't authorized. Just doesn't make sense. I've said this to John Thompson from the Rules Committee chair, and he has not replied to me. I'm not surprised, because this is a glaring problem in their opinion. Now, of course, we're talking about opinions and passions and emotions, and not the rules anymore. And that's a problem as well. When we have a fiduciary responsibility to participate in an offering of money to us at no expense to us. That's at the end of the day. And I believe that rescission is not the appropriate action that we should take. I think we should debate on the question of actual ratification, because that's what really people are arguing about. They didn't want to see the chair. A lot of people didn't want to see the chair decide this unilaterally. I think we can all agree that it would have been better if we all kind of just joined and had that conversation. And for that matter, I would like to actually move an amendment to substitute the current motion to replace its language with the following. I move that the LPF Executive Committee ratify the decision to enter the JFC. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right. Mr. Roos made a substitute motion there. Is there a second on this?
I'll second it.
All right, Mr. Vincent seconds it. So the motion to substitute would be substituting the motion to rescind with a motion to ratify the joint fundraising agreement. Would that be correct, Mr. Roos?
To ratify, yes, sir.
Object.
All right.
Mr. Chair, I hate to interrupt, but Mr. Thompson wrote in the chat that since he was mentioned by name, he would like the opportunity to respond.
Yeah,
As the Rules Committee Chair.
Yeah, I have no problem there. The motion to substitute is still ongoing though there, guys. But Mr. Thompson, if you would like to speak, since you were mentioned by name, that would be totally appropriate here, I feel.
Thank you, John. Mr. Roos's point, his point is valid. It was not an error in the rules report. The agreement is void. So the idea of rescinding is not a correct word choice. And I would think that either the language be changed to state that the ruling was void, and to Ms. McCardle's point that this would cause problems for the others in the agreement. That is not a problem of the LPF. That is a problem of the other entities that entered into that agreement for entering into the agreement with an unauthorized agent. Thank you.
Consider this my motion to amend the amendment. If it's been seconded, I kind of stepped away for a half a second, and I will amend the amendment to as Mr. Thompson has requested. We do not need to be a party of this. We are the party of principle. This is not principled.
I'd like to have some
Right.
discussion on that if it's warranted.
All right there. I mean, we did have a second on the motion to substitute here. So we would have to, I guess at this point here, since it's been seconded, we would need to vote on that to decide whether we are moving on to the substituted motion here, which would be a motion to ratify the joint fundraising agreement by the LPF, or if we are going to stick with the motion to rescind here. So I think it's at this point here kind of parliamentary procedurally important to get this part or this question out of the way here. So let's move on to the motion to substitute. Let's see how that goes, and then we can move back into discussion one way or another once we know how that goes there. Let me just confirm here, just that.
Mr. Chair, it's a point of order then. If we haven't approved the replacing of the motion with to then be able to amend it yet.
All right. I mean, technically, a motion to substitute and a motion to amend, can be looked at as technically a very similar motion there, depending on how you want to get into the semantics. So it did get a second, so it is on the table now. Unfortunately, it is the motion is the bodies. It's no longer any individuals. So once again, that's why I'm saying I think it's prudent at this point we clear that question off the table, so to speak, and then we can move along back into germane discussion about the pros and cons. So let's clear this motion to substitute off the table here. So currently the motion to substitute would substitute our motion to rescind and remove the unauthorized JFC agreement and replace it with a motion to ratify the JFC agreement that was signed onto by myself there. There was a second from Mr. Vincent. Mr. Roos, I believe you kind of already spoke to why you were doing this substitution here. If there's any discussion on the substitution, though, I would entertain that at this time. I do
Yeah.
see
Yeah, I have some
legacy
discussion.
hands from DL and Mr. Vincent. DL, since your hand was up as a legacy hand before Mr. Vincent's, did you want to go first, or would you want to hold your place here until we figure this out?
Let's hold, because
Okay.
my comments were related prior to the amendment. Or I'm sorry, prior to the motion to amend.
Understood, Mr. Cummings. So I'll hold your place in line just in case this motion to substitute does not go through here. Mr. Vincent, I'm going to give you the shot to go next there since you were the second. And then Mr. Roos, I'll give you a chance to speak since you kind of already did leading into your motion to substitute. So Mr. Vincent, go ahead when you're ready, sir.
Okay. I think amending this to ratify it is a good idea. One, although I'm not happy with how Josh did this, and I'm not happy that it's been done before, that he's went behind the EC board to do things like the PPP. I think that in the situation, the urgency of once donations start coming in, he had to make a decision to sign on to this. And as an elected chair and as a registered agent of the Libertarian Party of Florida, he does have agency to sign on to certain deals. Now, if we ratify that, then we're saying, hey, we agree with this decision. And therefore that gives us another way to say, hey, we are authorizing this, even though it wasn't done the right way. And, I would also be for a future motion to solidify something in place in our works that says the chair cannot make unilateral decisions moving forward. But if we didn't say anything about the PPP, why are we saying something now? We had a vote on it. Well, we didn't have a vote on it. We should have had a vote on it. It was pulled back because it wasn't favorable. And then all of a sudden now we're having a PPP. So I think we do need something in place, but here I think because of the urgency of the matter and the money that would be coming in as of maybe next week, the LNC just got a check for $60,000. So that could be potentially $1,000 to $2,000-$3,000 coming into our pockets as of next week. I think we shouldn't rescind it. We shouldn't void it, because then we don't get that money. And if we rescind it, then we're not going to get the next month's money. So I think that we're not putting principle aside here. We're not helping Kennedy raise more money. He's helping us raise money. Hell, at the federal level, he's going to help Chase raise more money for Chase than Chase is raising for himself. Yeah, that's probably going to be how it shakes out.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Vincent. Mr. Roos and then Mr. Johnson on the motion to substitute when you're ready, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to reiterate that I would like to give this board an opportunity to approve something that's positive and constructive for this party for once, that doesn't waste money, that isn't a problem, or something that we're responsible for, frankly, and how we can fundraise. And I want us to be able to have that decision today, not tomorrow, because we can enjoy the benefits of this now. And I do believe that it was entered in, urgently or rushed, sure. And I think this is an ample time to now correct the record and make the board known that it is interested in fundraising and being a political party, and spending money on our candidates and spending money on actually what parties do, and maybe even buying more signs for Chase Oliver as when we get this cash come in. That's really what I believe our goal is here today and what we're doing here as a party. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Roos. Mr. Johnson, you can go ahead, sir, when you're ready.
I'd like to point out something DL had posted in the chat. Rescind, verb, to cancel a contract, putting the parties back to the position as if the contract had not existed. It is not, in fact, stating that the chair had the authority to put us into the contract. It's the act of rescinding the contract. In law, ratification is the process of approving or enacting a legally binding document that would not be binding without such approval. So if there are any executive committee members here on this meeting that are currently unsure what this motion is, Mr. Vincent or Mr. Ruse, I can't remember who moved it. I think it was Hector, is moving that we rubber stamp a joint fundraising agreement with an opposition party candidate to our own nominated candidate. That is not principled. You can argue that it's principled to take money that is free money, but you cannot sell me on the fact, even as a Mises Caucus member, you cannot sell me on the fact that whoring our party line out to RFK Jr. is principled. And with that, I call the question.
All right, Mr. Johnson has called the question. Is there a second on calling the question?
I second it.
All right, Mr. Moscript seconds here. So, Mr. Johnson, are you calling all of the questions or just the question on the motion to substitute here?
The amended motion, sir. And if the amended motion fails, then I will withdraw my amendment to the amendment.
Okay, I don't remember an amendment to the amendment, just a motion to call the question here.
Okay, there was, but we had to work through this amendment before that one was even considered, so.
Gotcha. Well, let's do this. There's been a motion to call the question here. It's been seconded by Mr. Moscript. Motions to call the question are not debatable, but they do require 2/3. Since in this case, and Mr. Johnson, correct me if you're wrong, but I'm going to assume, and I'm going to take the risk in assuming here, that you were moving to call the question specifically on the motion, the substitute here, so we can get this question cleared off the table and get back into figuring out what we're going to do here. Is that correct?
That's correct, Mr. Chair.
All right. Thank you, sir, here. So once again, guys, this is a motion to call the question on the motion to substitute. Motions to call the question, once again, are not debatable, but as a result, do require a 2/3 vote in order for it to pass. If the motion to call the question passes, we will move directly into a vote on the motion to substitute. If the motion to call the question fails, we will continue discussion on the motion to substitute. So a yes vote will end discussion and we'll move straight into a vote here. A no vote on this next vote will mean that we'll continue with discussion on this motion to substitute. Are there any questions on what you're voting on before we vote on this motion to call the question? Mr. Sokol, Mr. Roos, I see your hands up. Just want to make sure they're legacy hands before we move into voting.
Is this a roll call vote?
I would like for that to be the case. I want members on the record. This has been done in public view of registered members of the LPF.
Point of order.
Also,
this isn't debatable, sir.
Yep. Matt, let's do that. Let's do this. The motion to call the question itself, we're going to take by a voice vote. Here.
Okay, I'm good with that,
Assuming we
Mr.
don't.
Chair.
If the motion to call the question passes and we move on to the motion to substitute, then yes, we can have a roll call vote on that, on how that goes. And then at the end, when we do go to vote on the final motion, whatever the heck that may end up being, we can have another roll call vote on that, guys. I think that's fair for everybody considering the situation here. But in the interest of time, let's start with the voice vote on the motion to call the question. So real quick, once again, a yes vote would be to ending debate and going straight into voting on the motion to substitute. A no vote would be continuing debate on the motion to substitute. If there's no questions or concerns about what you're voting on before we move along here, at this time, all in favor of calling the question and voting, please say aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
All opposed to calling the question and continuing debate, please say no. All right, the ayes have it here. We are now on to voting on the motion to substitute here, which would be changing the language or changing the motion from a motion to rescind the unauthorized JFC agreement to a motion to ratify the JFC agreement here. There. So a yes vote would be to substitute.
We're doing a roll call vote, right?
Yes, we are. So A yes vote would be changing the motion to rescind to a motion to ratify. A no vote would be to continue on with this motion to rescind here and not move it, change it to a motion to ratify. Does anybody have any questions before I let Ms. Gansky get started with the roll call vote?
There are a couple of hands raised. Are we still in debate, or have we ended debate on the main motion or the amendment itself?
We have all debate has ended.
That's
there,
what I thought.
Mr. Johnson.
Thank you.
Yep, I believe Mr. Sokol and Mr. Roos's hands up are legacy hands, which I'm going to continue to assume, and as a result, I'm going to put them both down at the risk of having some flashbacks to the credentials committee here. Mr. Paff's hand did just go up, though. Mr. Paff, do you have something?
Yes, I just want to make sure that I know what I'm voting on. I could vote yes on this motion to simply substitute the motion. Doesn't mean that I want to actually ratify the chair's decision, but I want the main motion to be whether we ratify the chair's decision.
Correct there, Mr. Paff. So, yep. So just to give everybody a little bit more clarity here, this motion would not be to approve or disapprove of this agreement just quite yet. This is to change the language of the motion itself from a motion to rescind to a motion to ratify. So once again, guys, a yes vote doesn't necessarily mean you're agreeing to ratify it. It just means you're agreeing to change the wording of the motion. Does that make sense to everybody here? Or does that not make sense to anyone? All right. Ms. Gansky, when you're ready, you can go ahead with that roll call vote about the motion to substitute on the language here.
Sure. Matt Johnson.
No.
I will also vote no. Joe Sokol.
Yes.
Ed.
No.
Scott.
No.
Lee.
No.
And Derek is not here. Joey.
Yes.
Robert.
Yes.
Leon.
Yes.
DL.
No.
Andrew.
No.
Beth.
No.
David.
No.
Eric.
No.
Chris. Chris Allen still on? Or did he drop?
I do not see him in the list of participants.
James.
Yes.
John. Pat.
Yes.
Deanna.
No.
Hector.
Yes.
Josh.
What's the vote count right now?
Looks like 11-7 is what I have it.
Yeah, 11 no votes.
Sounds like my vote will be of no substance, so I'm just going to expressly abstain here, but it sounds like the noes have it, so this will remain a motion to rescind here as originally proposed there. So once again, guys, the motion to substitute sounds like it has failed on the roll call vote. Therefore, this will stay the original presented motion, which is a motion to rescind the unauthorized JFC agreement here. We are now back on discussion of that original main motion here. That said, I did offer Mr. Cummings to hold his spot in line, shall we say here. So DL, if you would like to get first shake at discussion now that we're back here. After that, I am going to do Mr. Roos, Mr. Sokol, just because they were legacy hands leading up to this. And then after that, Mr. Johnson and Mr. Ferguson were the next two in order there. So Mr. Cummings, when you're ready, the floor is yours to go back to discussion.
Awesome. Thank you. So I'm going to support the motion to rescind. I oppose this action for the same reasons as others. And then I just kind of want to point out that by participating in this, we allow a competing candidate's campaign to increase money that they will use, at least in part, against our candidate. And the more money that we assist them is more money that's going to go, which ultimately means a bigger impact to our own candidate. Now, even if you think, okay, well, our candidate isn't going to do so well anyway, we're already having internal arguments in the party as it relates to, oh, we're only going to get this much. It was a total waste, yada, yada, yada. That takes the spirits down. So I would argue and say that by virtue of being involved in this, we assist even in future arguments within our party of people discussing whether certain choices were the right choices or any other thing that simply won't matter. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Cummings. All right. Going ahead here, I'm going to do Mr. Roos, Mr. Sokol, Mr. Johnson, Mr. Ferguson. Mr. Roos, you can go ahead first, sir.
Mr. Chair, can I have Mr. Sokol speak first?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Mr. Sokol, I'll let you go first since Mr. Roos is deferred. Mr. Roos will go after that, and then Mr. Johnson and Mr. Ferguson and Mr. Vincent.
Okay, I just want to say as the treasurer, I'm ready and willing to facilitate this through our federal account. That's all I want to say. If it passes.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Sokol here. Mr. Roos, you can go ahead when you're ready, and then Mr. Johnson, Mr. Ferguson, Mr. Vincent.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I want to reiterate that this is something that's good for our party. And that is something that we really should take in consideration. It's also good for our candidate, because our candidate will get a lot more support through this joint fundraising committee, through the fundraising proceeds. Right now, our candidate is relying heavily on the party to support its efforts, both in terms of ballot access as well as even getting signs out in the streets. So I think we need this more than people realize. And more importantly, I think it's important to take a moment and look at what the National Judicial Committee said. They had an opportunity to rescind the LNC's participation in this, and they essentially said that we have a moral and fiduciary duty to participate in the JFC. And I'm going to quote them. A reasonable libertarian might even believe that enabling anyone, even a rival campaign, to experience reduced harm at the hand of a law that violates libertarian principle may fairly be considered to be in the interest of any libertarian campaign. Such individual may even reasonably conclude that as libertarians, it is our duty to help anyone in that position to whatever extent we are able, and to accept more than the actual cost of doing so would be unethical. And that I also shared the quote in our chat. And I would say that based on that kind of reasoning is why they actually allowed the LNC to proceed. And I believe that we should as well in that spirit. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Roos. Gonna say in order, Mr. Johnson, Mr. Ferguson, Mr. Vincent, you can go ahead when you're ready, Mr. Johnson.
Yeah, we have beat this dead horse in Discord. We have beat this dead horse back and forth in bulletin board and our reports and our back and forth. And I have nothing further to say, so I'd like to call the question, and I would like for this to be a roll call vote.
I mean, it's obvious. There's obviously discussion still here.
All right, we've had several objections. Keeping in mind, the motion to call the question does require a second there. So before we start getting into objections, do we have a second to the motion?
A second.
All right, Ms. Kozma seconds it. There is objection here. Now, unfortunately, the motion to call the question, as we've already learned several times tonight, is non-debatable, but it does require a 2/3. So if enough of you are objectable, we will continue debate there. So that being said, a yes vote would end debate and move into a final vote on this motion here. A no vote would be to continue debate on this motion to rescind there. Does anybody not understand what we're voting on before we start the vote? All right. All in favor of ending debate and moving on to voting on to the rescindment of this agreement, please say aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
All opposed, please say to ending the debate, please say no.
No.
All right. Unfortunately, I believe for the objectors, the ayes have it there. So we are now moving into the final vote here. Ms. Skansky, as I have already pre-agreed to, we are going to do a roll call vote on the rescindment of this motion here. Therefore, when you are ready, you may go ahead with that roll call vote.
Point of order is, are we voting on the original motion?
Yes.
Yes, we are voting on the originally presented motion that was in the agenda initially, which was a motion to rescind the unauthorized JFC agreement that was moved by Mr. Johnson.
Point of order, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir, Mr. Ferguson.
Before the call was made, I had previously asked to have you speak. Would it be in order for you to do that now before we do this, sir?
Unfortunately, that would be out of order since we are in a now. We have now voted to end all discussion and debate on the motion here. So that would be out of order for me.
Sure.
Yep,
Just
that would be
wanted to
out of order for me to continue. So do apologize there on that one, but we will move along. And when you are ready, Ms. Skansky, you can go ahead with that roll call vote.
Okay, sure. Got the grid ready. Matt Johnson,
Yes.
I'll vote yes as well. Joe Sokol,
No.
Ed Appler,
Yes.
Scott Nicholson,
Yes.
Lee Kortzer,
Yes.
Derek is not here. Joey,
No.
Robert Vinson,
I'm voting no.
Leon. You still with us, Leon?
Yes, I'm here. Yes.
DL,
Yes.
Andrew, Paris,
Yes.
Beth,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Chris. Is Chris here? He left, right? James.
I don't see him.
Yes.
John Paff,
Yes.
Deanna,
Yes.
Hector,
Nope.
Josh.
What's the vote count?
We have 4 no's and the rest are yeses.
Sounds like the yeses already have it. No need for me to vote there. Motion passes in that case, which means the agreement has been rescinded. So I will let the JFC know to not send us any more checks. All right. With that, we are now moving into.
Have they sent any?
Well, they're definitely not going to send any now. So that's that. So moving along here, back to
Can
orders.
I have a point of information, please? I just
Sure,
want, this is important. If we did get checks from them, they need to be deposited federally, and they also
need to be sent back.
Yeah,
They
they
would
need
be
to
sent back now.
Okay, cool. I just want to be, because it could get us in a lot of trouble.
Yep. So no worries. No money for the LPF. Understood. All righty. Moving along with orders of the day now, we are going to move into executive discussion session to discuss a personal matter regarding donations here. So at this time, the chair will entertain a motion to move into executive committee.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Mr. Roos.
I move into executive session for 20 minutes.
Second.
All right. All right. Motion to move into executive session by Mr. Roos for 20 minutes. Mr. Montgomery, second. Is there any objection to moving into executive session?
Question, do we have Stephen on the call or no?
I do not see Mr. Nikela on the call here tonight.
In which case executive session may not be necessary.
All right, here.
I'm just asking him if he's coming because he texted me a little bit ago.
I'm just asking for that.
Okay.
Let me pause here because technically the motion is on the table here to move in the executive session, and We technically haven't voted on it, so it's still the bodies here. So let's play with this a little bit here. Because I'm not 100% abreast on item E. I absolutely understand item A for executive session here.
We kind of already touched on it. I was told to couch it that way, so it'll give us a little more time we probably don't need too much time, but and we can.
Mr. Chair, can we just call the vote and let him in? Let Stephen come in if he shows up.
Well, that's what I'm trying to get to here, Mr. Roos. Is executive session going to be warranted if we don't have Mr. Nikela here for this first item? Because obviously the second item does need his finer touch. So I'm trying to see here what if the nature of this first item of executive session requires Mr. Nikela's presence, and if so, if we want to postpone
the first item
these.
does not. The first item does not require his presence.
Okay, here. So let's do this here. Let's move into executive session for 20 minutes on this matter here. Let's take the vote on that. And then if we need to continue on with executive session for the other item here, we'll rise and, revote to go back in there with Mr. Nikela if he arrived.
Mr. Chair, I object. I'd like to move the executive session for both items. If he doesn't show up within 20 minutes, we're done.
Understood.
Okay. I don't think
point of information, Mr. Chair.
All right, everybody's getting real antsy as we're getting late. What's going on, Mr. Johnson?
No, I would just like to point out that even if Mr. Nikela is not on the call, Rob Vincent is on that committee, and I believe the treasurer may have additional information with that matter. So I think it is in order to do both items. Just saying. As bad as I would love for this meeting to be over.
Good point.
As what I hear, guys. So real quick here, is there any objection to moving into executive session? It's already been, moved and seconded here. Like I said, we were playing with it a little bit. I'm taking some liberties, but if there's no objection, I will ask Mr. Johnson to end the recording and the live stream. Once we affirm that lack of objection, I'm going to
for the record, recording is stopped. I will not be able to restart the live stream, which is not that big of a deal since I think the next order of business is announcements and adjournment. So just for the record.
Remind me who seconded the move to executive session?
Mr. Montgomery.
Okay, thank you.
All right, guys, I'm going to start putting people not on the EC in the waiting room. If you are not on the EC, I am sorry, you're going in the waiting room till we're done.